Hello friends, my name is Jitender Bafna. Today I will going to show you how you can make use of ARM REST API provided by MuleSoft to create cluster, to retrieve the cluster information, to add the server into the existing cluster, to remove the server from the existing cluster. Okay, so these are the operation, like how we can fetch the server detail, how we can create the cluster, how can we can fetch the cluster details, how we can remove the server from the cluster, how we can add the server to the cluster, and how we can rename the cluster. So these are the operation we will going to see in this video. In last video of this series we have seen like how we can create a server group, how we can fetch the server detail, how we can remove the server group, how we can add the server into server group. So now we will see same thing with cluster. So for that I will go to Anypoint Exchange, so where you can search for ARM REST services. Under that you have something called cluster. Okay, so before that what I will do, okay, before that I need to start the mule instance. Okay, I will start both the instances. So basically what happens, I have a two mule instance on the same machine, or mule runtime on the same machine, and I will going to add this into the Cloud Hub Anypoint Runtime Manager, because I want my control plane to be in the Cloud Hub. So yeah, we can definitely add the servers from here also. We will see later on how we can do that, but right now let's see, we will go with the cluster example. So both server has been started. Okay, you can see that deployed. Now I will go to Anypoint Platform. Under Anypoint Platform, go to servers and just say add server. Copy this command, go to bin folder of your mule runtime. So first instance, bin folder. Okay, just open the command prompt. I will open one of the notepad. I will remove this dot slash, because for Windows we don't require dot slash. It is basically for Dell, sorry, for Linux. Paste the command here. This is my same thing I will do on the instance too. Okay, enter. I will go to bin. I will just say cmd command prompt, paste it. I will change Dell to. So what does it do? It create a config file in the conf folder, that is muleagent.yaml. Okay, let's open this. This contain various field, like various URLs, so it can communicate with your mule control plane. Okay, so these are the settings we need to do. Now you can go to Anypoint Platform. You can see the two servers has been created, but the status is created. It should be in the running status. So for that we will restart our mule runtime. I will close all the command prompt. It's very simple. Now go to bin folder and just run the mule.batch file. Same thing you have to do with instance one also. Go to bin folder, click on this mule.bat file. So as soon as they will start it, the status will change to running. Okay, the one of the server status changed to running. Okay, now it's also connected, and soon it will become the running. Okay, now either I can create the server group cluster from here. You can select unicast or the multicast cluster, whatever. So we will see how we can create the unicast cluster for now, then we will see the multicast cluster. Okay, so difference between unicast cluster and multicast. In multicast cluster you don't have to define the IP addresses of your server, right? Because it auto discover the IP addresses of each servers, but in unicast you have to provide the IP addresses. See, multicast we don't have to provide IP addresses. Okay, that is the difference. Because like some of the firewall doesn't allow the multicast, in that case we have to go with a unicast. When it comes to coordination and communication, there is no difference. Okay, so let me go with first we will see the post cluster. So in this I will copy this URL. This is basically create a cluster from the register server. So I have already registered server into the Cloud Hub control plane. I will go and I will say post. Okay, I will paste this URL. I don't want spaces. Okay, so this is the URL anypoint.mulesoft.hybrid API to create the cluster. We required some headers. So if you see, there are some headers required. X anypoint environment ID. I have already shown in my last video how you can face this. I will show you again. You can copy it from here also. Now next you may require the organization ID. Copy this. You also require authorization token, that is the bearer token. So I will tell you how we can generate the bearer token. For generating the bearer token, you have to go to this https anypoint.mulesoft.com/account/login. This is the login API, and you have to, I will not show the body to you, but I can tell you what body you need to pass. You need to pass this username, JSON, and what is your anypoint platform, anypoint username. Okay, and the second, let me correct the spelling, username, and the second thing, you have to pass the password of your anypoint platform. Okay, this is the data you need to pass. Okay, it should contain anypoint platform username and anypoint platform password. Send the request with this body. You will get the token. Invalid CRS. I need to close it because there is some problem with Postman sometime. We need to because it do some caching or something, that so we need to restart the Postman. I have some problem with my Postman, so it generally we don't get these issues. Okay, hit. I get the token, copy this token and paste it here in header, bearer space token. Now how to find the anypoint organization ID? It's very simple. Go to access management, self. Either you can copy this organization ID or you can get it from the URL also. Okay, so this is my org ID. I'll paste it. Okay, now next thing, I want an environment ID. So simply do one thing, remove this 2. I don't know why this 2 is coming. Now click on sandbox. It will give the environment ID. Copy this environment ID and paste it here. So like I will tell you, so cancel it. We have done with this settings. Go to runtime manager again. So now if you see the JSON, it required the server ID and the server IP address. So how we can get the server ID of this servers? It is not Dell 1 and Dell 2. There is a different server ID. Either, okay, so I can tell you how you can get the server ID. So what I can do, so instead of like cluster API, first we will fetch the server details. So for that you have a server API. Let me find it out. This is server group. Yeah, this is the get server API. If you see servers, get server API, this will provide the server details. Right, Control C, and it also require all the same parameters like X anypoint environment ID, org ID, authorization header. So let me paste it here. Let me change the method to get and send the request with the same authorization header and everything. Copy this. Okay, if you see, so what we have done, we have fetched the server details. So this server detail contain the ID of the server, a name of the server which we are deployed in the control plane cloud hub. It also contain the status, the IP address. It also contain the other thing like what is the operating system version, what is JVM version. And if you see the IP address of both the server or both the server is same or both the node is same, because we have both instance running on the same server. Okay, so now let me again, okay, you got it, that now again I will just use the cluster URL. The parameters remain same, the headers remain same for all the requests. Let me copy this. So I will change it to post. Okay, and like I want to pass this 3 parameters remain same. Okay, body I will change to raw and it should be JSON. Now let me copy the message, paste it. So let me do one thing. So I will give the cluster name first, with which name? Test demo cluster. Then you have to provide the servers. So I want to add 2 servers into the cluster, so I will just comma enter. Now what you have to provide? The IP address. So as I mentioned, the IP address is same for both the server, okay, because the both instances are running on the same server. Control V and Control V. Now you have to provide the server ID, so that will be the different. Copy this, paste it here. Now check for the second server ID. Now try to send the request. It is failing. Even I provided the ID, but it's saying like you, because there is a catch in the message provided in this service. It is ID. It is not ID. The attribute name is bit different, because I identify after dot of research. So it is server ID. The message format given on the document is not correct as per me. Okay. Now try to send the request. So you see it. I got the 200 OK after changing this server ID. Now let me check on my Anypoint platform servers. So you can see the cluster has been created. Okay. So it is a disconnected state. It will be automatically start. So don't worry about that. So it will be start like it is. See, you can see the server is initializing here. Okay. So let's wait till it initialize it. Okay, whatever changes you are doing here, it automatically get reflected on the on-premise runtime. Don't worry, it's taking some of the time. That's fine. It is start connecting. So what we have created the multicast cluster. If you see the multicast cluster enabled true. Okay, so one server is start running, the both are running. If you see the manage cluster server, here you see there is a no IP address and the port for communication. What I will do, I will remove this cluster, delete. We can delete from there also. Right now let's delete me from here. Okay, it got deleted, but servers are there. So instead of multicast, I can create unicast. I will say false, send it. Okay, the servers must be running. Let's wait servers, because for okay, now it should add the, so you can see the successful response. Okay, and if you see, so the server is still disconnected. They are restarting, if you see it. But you can see like click here under manage cluster. This time on the server you will see the IP addresses and the port once they get started. So this time it's a unicast cluster. So it is restarting. So whatever changes you are doing, it automatically restart the cluster and the servers under the cluster. So you can see the server is in running state. Now you can go to cluster, manage cluster. Under servers you can see the IP addresses and the port number which used to communicate with each other. I have a separate videos on the unicast cluster and multicast cluster. You can go through what is the difference, what are those ports. So that video will explain everything to you. Okay, now next thing, now how we can fetch this cluster details. For fetching the cluster details, okay, for fetching the cluster detail, you can go to get and copy this command. It's the same URL. Instead of post, use the get, and like you don't require body, just change it to remove the body and like change it to none. Okay, and just try to send the request. So you will get the all the cluster details. So paste me here. So what are the details? You are getting the cluster ID. Okay, Apart from that, its multicast is false, and the status is running, type is cluster, whatever. Okay, so and apart from what are the server inside the cluster, you can see those things. Okay, just a minute. Yeah, must. So this is how you can create your cluster, and like you can fetch this cluster information. Now we will see how we can remove the cluster from the from the cluster, how we can remove the server from the cluster. So if you go to your ARM REST service documentation, go to cluster. Under the cluster you have something called delete. Copy this command. Okay, go to notepad, and what the cluster ID. So we have just fetched the cluster ID. We have just fetched the cluster ID. Okay, copy this cluster ID. Paste it here. Now server ID. So I will remove del2 or del1. I will remove del1, so you can get the server ID from here and paste it here. Copy this. Now go to delete instead of, and paste this here. Say send. So 2002 accepted, so it has deleted. Make sure this 3 parameter is present with all the requests. Okay, so now you can see, so del1 is removed from the cluster. There is only one server into the cluster. Now server is restarting, so let's wait till it get restarted. Then let it get started. Now next thing, how we can put the server back to the cluster. So for that there is a other API which is known as a put. I think it's put only. Yeah, it's the same URL. The method get changed. So the URL which we have used for delete. Okay, and I want to put del1 back to the cluster. So instead of delete, I will use put. Okay, so let's wait the server. Now server is running. In the cluster there is only one server now. Let me add it back. So this is same URL, just change the method to put. You must provide the valid JSON body. Let me check what it's expecting. Put, okay, it expecting. Okay, sorry, you should not use the put. Put is basically used to put is basically used to modify the IP address or whatever of your server. Okay, so that is what put does. Okay, let me check. So instead of that, I think we need to. That's a minute code example. Okay, so basically we can use this command. So post method. So instead, okay, the post method, like you can use the that to the cluster ID. Then just paste it. Okay, we will not pass the cluster into URI parameter. Just pay post. Now here we have to pass the body. It may be JSON. Okay, and what is the body? You can find it from this call. It should be a server ID and the IP address. So let me find out the server ID. This is the server ID which we have removed. So this post method is basically used to add the server back to the cluster, and also the IP address of your cluster. Okay, now try to send the request. It is 2002 accepted. Let me check. Okay, the server get added. You can see the del1 is again get added to the cluster. Correct. So let me show you what that patch method does. Put method does.
Okay, this put is basically if you want to modify the IP address, like IP address of your server, a port of your server, so you can use this body and this URL. Now last one more thing, we will see how we can rename the cluster. So for renaming the cluster, there is a patch command. Okay, copy this patch. It's a C. Okay, simply like you can remove the servers from end. Okay, so you can see the URL cluster/cluster ID. So we already have instead of post, you can change it to patch, and here we require some body. I think it's only required one parameter, that is the name. You can, if you want to see the body or whatever, you can, or okay. So what we can do, so I want to rename the server group name. So right now, what is the name of the server group? It's a test demo cluster. I will simply say test cluster. Okay, all three other parameters remain same. So if you see 200, okay, go to AnyPoint platform, you can verify it. So it has been changed to test cluster. Okay, so I already renamed the cluster also. Okay, so this is what you can use ARM REST service to play with your cluster, like adding the server, removing the server, renaming the server, to update any detail into the server. You can explore more options available. That's a very simple thing. You can do that. Okay, I hope you liked the video. Thanks for watching it.